Sit so I don't get my head in the way.
Oh, you're fine. You're the priority, sir. Oh, that's not good. What's up, YouTube? We're just testing different bit rates right now. This is where I was approved to go. Sorry, guys. I mean, I can do those.
You can probably move over here and get yourself a better shot if you want.
Well, interestingly, the human beings out here, they actually want to see, they like to see the crowd's faces. Would it be possible to go, like, right over there? Or is that bad?
I'd rather you stay here.
Stay in behind?
Yeah. That's
Okay, totally understood.
We gotta roll again.
Time to get
that's a good question, but no, I was sure you wanted to.
Alright, guys, we can either be positioned right here or right here. It is up to you guys, left or right. It's really not much of a difference. No, so we're going to be doing shout-outs during this stream. And in fact, our current donation leader is actually, let me look here, is actually Alex, who is currently at 115 plus 76 plus 219. Our current donation leader is Alex at $410 for the Andrew Yang shout-out. Okay, stay here? Okay. Works for me.
You can have simple mind.
So this town has a population of 6,000 people. Oh, hi, Mom.
I thought it was going to be about
So, how many people are here? It looks like to be about like 30 so far. And this is a town of about 6,000 people.
No, no, we play indoor. So we play central.
I don't understand.
Yeah, in the event, people could still roll in, so. So, the current donation leader is, 125 plus 76 plus 219. The current donation leader is actually Alex at $420. So, forewarning you guys who are popping into the stream, if you would like a shout out from the next president of the United States, you're going to have to donate more than Alex donated last stream. And he donated $420. He had a late donation come in, so he is currently the crowd leader. The donation leader for the Andrew Yang shout out after the end of the selfie line.
In case you didn't know, El Salvador is now in Europe.
By the way, thank you, Christian, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang, and thank you, David, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Can I pan the crowd? Sure.
I was like, oh, Kobe.
I'm not sure how many Yang curious. Question for you. Ever heard Andrew speak before?
Yeah.
Go ahead now.
Have not. How, if you had to like rank them coming into this town hall, where would you put them?
Let's put it this way, there's probably only two people I'm willing to vote for, and the Democratic side is probably one of them. But I'm a flagrant independent myself.
Yeah, me as well.
So I do not want to work hard. I'm an older person, but my wife works for newspapers line here. I was like, I want to be
Interesting.
So this is a chance for me to come here.
Absolutely.
She needed a chauffeur in the crappy road, so I said, I'll drive. So I'm more than happy to see what he has to say.
Yeah. If you'd like, an interview afterwards, you can share what you thought.
I'll consider it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
Andrew will be speaking very shortly. Yeah, guys, it's currently 3 degrees outside here in Iowa. They hear about the events through like local press, emails. I don't know if the campaign does like flyers and stuff. So if you would like to get a shout out from the next crowd looks small. Well, it is a town of 6,000 people, and it's currently 3 degrees outside with negative 20 wind chills, and there was a snowstorm yesterday. So let's just focus on not crowd sizes, and just focus on the message. Rotate camera angle a little to the left. There you go. I want to keep the Iowa flag sign in the frame. Norm MacDonald is coming to Iowa. Oh, hello, Andy from Malaysia. All right, so if you guys would like a shout out from the next president of the United States, the current donation leader is Alex at $420. What happened to Zach? Did Matt outsource his job to TouchStream? Zach's just very busy with college. He's in his third year. He's in a very tough major. So I've taken over most of the workload, and I don't mind. We're in Independence, Iowa.
Oh, it's hard to say. Who's going to watch it?
There's probably about 30-ish, 40-ish people here now in a town of 6,000. No problem, A Yang. Guys, this is where I was approved to put the camera, so this is where it's staying. So basically, the campaign is allowing us to film their entire bus tour, and it looks like that after maybe tomorrow or Monday, that they're actually going to give me transportation from event to event. But the reason that they're doing that is because me and Ted have said that we think that we can raise $100,000 for the campaign during the 17-day Iowa bus tour. So to do that and to prove to the campaign that we are worth the trouble, we need you guys to donate right now through the yanggame.com donation link. Just $1 would help. There are currently 425 of you in chat, and if all of you right now went to the yanggame.com donation link and donated $1, we will receive $425 in donations.
Hi guys, how are you? So excited to see you guys here, and so excited to see people amped up and ready to hear Andrew Yang speak. It gets me so excited. My name's Lauren. I'm from Los Angeles. I swapped the sunshine for the snow because I know how important it is to be here. About 5 years ago, I was working for a tech startup. It was wildly successful, and 6 months ago, my position was automated. So there are now computers doing my job, which kind of sucks. But I started researching automation and what was coming, and I found out about Andrew Yang. And I started researching his other policies, and I realized, wow, this is a candidate that I can get behind, but not just me. He's a candidate for all of us. His slogan is not left, not right, but forward. It's for all of us. And so I just hope that I can inspire and encourage people to sign up to volunteer, whether it be phone banking, canvassing, door knocking. I just learned yesterday that one door knock is the equivalent of $240 in donation money. So even if it's just a little bit of time, it helps. You're more than welcome to find me and the other volunteers back here, and we will definitely sign you up for some volunteer work. We'd love to. But yeah, I'm going to introduce now Al Wumble. He is working for the Yang campaign as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lauren. You know, I'm really, really glad, actually, that just a couple days that this snowstorm came through, and I'll tell you why. Because we've got a lot of young people like Lauren who come from places like California, or priests like my friend Alex who came from Texas, and people who came from Florida, and they were sitting there up through Christmas thinking, wow, this weather's not so bad. it's not so cold up here. And I was like, just you wait. And now that we had this snowstorm come through, all I gotta say is, hey guys, welcome to the real Iowa winter. That's right. We Iowans are a hardy group of people and just a little bit crazy to live here. So we're glad that you're here. But you know, when it comes to Andrew Yang, there's one of the things that some of you might have seen before, a slogan that you've seen up on some of our banners or posters, and it's called Humanity First. And I want to tell you why with Andrew that's actually who he really is, and is not just some sort of neat slogan or something that happens. See, we were at a little place called Jefferson Junior High with somebody you might know. His name is J.D. Schulten. Everybody heard of that guy before? That's right, yeah, J.D. I love being with JD because he's like one of the only people who makes me look short. And I got a picture between me, JD, and Rob Sand, and I look like a midget standing between those two guys because we're like 6'5" and 6'6" respectively. But see, we're at this conference at this junior high school, and there are about 400 people there. And afterwards, Andrew stopped and literally took pictures with everyone and signed autographs for everyone, which was really great, except I was like, you know, hey Andrew, you know, I'm a big dude. I need some dinner, buddy. We got to get going. But after Andrew got done doing all the different signatures and all the different selfies with everybody, there was one young man that we had there. And he was like, hey guys, I lost my cell phone. And all of a sudden Andrew was like, hey guys, we got to help find this kid's cell phone. So not only did Andrew have us as staffers, even though some of us were starving, walking up and down the aisles looking for that cell phone, Andrew Yang himself was walking up and down the aisles looking for this young kid's cell phone. And for me, that meant a lot about who this guy really is. It wasn't a neat ad campaign or slogan or anything like that. It was seeing who Andrew Yang truly was. Well, I'd like to introduce another special friend of mine to you. His name's Dan. He is not only the chair of the Buchanan County Democrats, he is, I'm told, a former European model, set the land speed record for a panhead out at the Salt Flats, and was recently voted 5-time Best Smile winner by the Northeast Democrats, I think so. But ladies and gentlemen, please give a big Iowa welcome for my friend Dan Callahan.
There might have been some exaggeration there, maybe just a mic, I don't know. But welcome everyone, thank you all for showing up. It's an exciting day. I'm going to make this very short because I think we're ready to introduce our main speaker here. Andrew is a problem solver and a nonprofit leader who understands what is necessary to bring America fully into the 21st century. After seeing people across the country struggle, trying to make ends meet, he decided that he needed to do something to help us all out. For over a year, Andrew Yang has been campaigning on a platform designed to give 21st century solutions to 21st century problems, while remaining laser focused on bringing humanity back into politics. Please join me in welcoming our next president, Andrew Yang.
Hello, should I call you Independence? Buchanan County Independence, that's a great name. You know, someone was telling me that you all are the county that swung most from Obama to Trump, perhaps in the entire country. I don't know if you all knew that. That makes this place one of the most important places in our country, in my opinion. And not just because we're in Iowa, which is going to turn this country in a whole new direction on February 3rd, 15 short days. I did the math. Do you know how many Californians each Iowan is worth? 1,000 each. Wow. That's right. So if you look around this room today, I'm going to give a Trumpian estimate. There are at least 400 people in this room. The biggest room ever. This is one football stadium worth of Californians right here. This is the power you all have to move this country in a new direction. And I have to say, you have a power that other Americans only dream of. Because other Americans look up and they see our government as a series of pipes clogged with millions and millions of dollars of lobbyist cash, and they despair that there is nothing they can do about it. They are correct. There is nothing they can do about it. You are the only people in the entire country that can flush the pipes clean. That's one reason why I love campaigning here so much. It's because you all have the ability to solve the problems that are driving the rest of this country into the ground. Now, you probably gathered I'm not a professional politician. I'm something of an accidental presidential candidate. I spent the last number of years running a nonprofit that helped create jobs around the country. And I give full credit to my wife for letting me do that. How many of you all work in a nonprofit now? How many of you volunteer in a nonprofit? You should probably pretend on that second one. That's like, are you nice? I am nice. There was that one time I did that nice thing. So I started this nonprofit right after the financial crisis. I felt like the financial crisis was such a train wreck for our country. Was your community here in this part of Iowa hard hit 12 years ago? I don't know. First, how many of you were actually here in 2008, 2009? Let's try that. So you were here. Do you remember that time? Like, how was that period? A 14-year-old boy raised his hand at another event and said it was really hard. And I said, how would you remember? You must have been 3 or 4. And he said that, well, we had to sell the house. So I remember. I saw that our economy had crashed because we had all of these wannabe whiz kids on Wall Street coming up with mortgage-backed securities and derivatives and financial instruments. And I thought that's the opposite of what this country needs. What we should be doing is sending people to start businesses in places like Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis, Birmingham, and around the country. So I quit my job to start a nonprofit to do just that in 2011. I said, well, I can do something about this. I'm an entrepreneur. And my organization helped create thousands of jobs around the country over the next number of years. It was so successful, I got to bring my wife to meet the president a couple of times. So my in-laws were very excited about me that week. They said, she must have done all right. But unfortunately, while I was traveling the country doing this work and getting clapped on the back, I felt like things were going in the wrong direction instead of the right direction in many, many parts of the country. And then Donald Trump became our president in 2016. Now, if you're here tonight, you probably were not excited by that outcome. How did you react when Donald Trump won? Tears? Shock? All right with it, and you're not alone. We know that, so this county went to Trump more than just about any other county in the entire country. And Donald Trump won Iowa by almost 10 points. So we all have family members and friends and neighbors who were very excited about his victory, even though some people reacted with shock and surprise and sadness. To me, it was a clear red flag that tens of millions of our fellow Americans decided to take a bet on the narcissist reality TV star as our president, in part because we're so fed up with our politicians. We looked up and said, these politicians are not actually in our corner. Whose corner are they in? The lobbyists, the corporate interests, the people that are actually making Washington, D.C. the richest city in our country today. Think about it. How the heck is that town the richest city in our country? What are they producing? No one knows. So this is one reason why Trump won, why you are not alone. I have family members, friends, neighbors who looked up and said, hey, anything is going to be better than what we're getting right now. And if you were to turn on cable news, why would you think that so many people right here in Iowa voted for Trump and he won this state by almost 10 points? If you were to turn on cable news, why would you think that happened? Hillary Clinton, emails, what else? Russia, Facebook maybe, FBI maybe, racism perhaps. But I'm a numbers guy, independents. You can tell by the math lapel pin. And when I went through the numbers, there was a very clear reason why Trump won here in Iowa, and in Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Ohio, and Missouri. It was the fact that we blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs that were in all of those places, including 40,000 right here in Iowa. And you all have been to those towns. After the manufacturing jobs dried up, the shopping center and shopping district closed, and then people started to leave the town, and then the school shrank, and that town has never recovered. That's the story I saw play out over and over again in Ohio, Michigan, Western Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, and right here in Iowa. And what we did to those manufacturing jobs, we're now doing to your retail jobs, your call center jobs, your fast food jobs, and eventually your trucking jobs, and on through the economy. How many of you have noticed stores closing around where you live here in Independence? Are there stores closing? And why are those stores closing? Amazon. Well, it was Walmart. Walmart came and mowed down all of the small businesses, and now it's the internet coming in. Amazon's soaking up $20 billion in business every year, closing 30% of our stores and malls. Most common job in the economy is retail clerk. The average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $8 and $12 an hour. After her store closes, what is her next job going to be? Unclear. 30% of stores close, you get zero. That is why it feels like you are getting sucked dry, because you are getting sucked dry. What is that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work at call centers right now, making between $10 and $14 an hour? You might have seen the self-serve kiosks in the McDonald's and the grocery store and these different places, but the rubber is really going to hit the road when the trucks start driving themselves. How many of you know a truck driver here in Iowa? It's the most common job in 29 states. Average truck driver is a 49-year-old. But if you Google robot butter truck, you will see the story. What is this going to mean for the 3.5 million life on the truckers getting out and having a meal every day? How many of you have been to Iowa 80 in Davenport? Yeah, the buffet is above average. Now it says on the wall, 5,000 people stop at Iowa 80, all less than 5,000. We're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country. And I'm going to suggest that on a laptop than actually putting something together. Now it's coming to retail districts, main streets around the state. Eventually it will hit the highways. This is what the future holds, not just for you all here in Iowa, but all of the states that went to Trump in 2016 in the Midwest that are the subject of these changes. My first move was not to run for president of the United States. After I went through the numbers and I found that made that Scooby-Doo noise where they're like, ooh, 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 bro. The three main responses I got in DC were these. We cannot talk about that. And that was helpful. We should study that further. And number three is we must educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. How many of you have ever heard a politician say something that sounds like that? Do you want to guess what the success rates were for the government-funded retraining programs for the manufacturing workers? Now, you laugh, and you know it's low because I'm anchoring you low, but you know it's low because you also know people. If you have 1,000 manufacturing workers who get, that's not the real world. The success rates of those government-funded retraining programs for the manufacturing workers were between 0 and 15%. They're a total dud. Of those people that lost their manufacturing jobs in the Midwest, almost half left the workforce and never worked again. Of that group, half filed for disability. You then saw surges in suicides and drug overdoses in a global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back 100 years, in part because it's highly unusual for life expectancy to ever decline in a developed country. We're supposed to get richer, stronger, healthier. That's what happens in every other country. But here in the US, we've gone down and then down and then down again. So when I said this to the folks in DC, they had very little for me. But one person said something that sent me here to you all tonight. He said, Andrew, you're in the wrong town. No one here is going to do anything about this because fundamentally this is a town of followers, not leaders. And the only way we will do something about it is if you were to create a wave in other parts of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. And I said, challenge accepted. I will be back with the wave in 2 years. So it's been a long 2 years, Independence. I've been coming here to Iowa every month for the last 2 years, and I gotta say, it's thrilling to be at this point where we have the chance to actually take this message back to DC and retake our government for us, the people of this country. I'm right now 5th in the polls and rising to be the Democratic nominee We raised $16.5 million last quarter in increments of only $35 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. But there's no corporate PAC money in there. It's just ordinary Americans saying we need to take back our government and make it work for us. The question is, after we get, if you have your hand up, you have had the sinking feeling that we are leaving our kids a future that is less stable, less secure, and less prosperous than the lives that we have led. We feel that way because it is that way. If you were born in the 1940s in the United States of America, there was a 93% chance you were going to be better off than your parents were. That's the American dream. That is what has fueled us for so long. That is what brought my family here. If you were born in the 1990s in this country, you were down to a 50-50 shot, and it is declining fast. That is why parents feel the way we do, because that is the reality. And that reality is what got Donald Trump elected in 2016, is that so many of us look at the future and do not believe it is going to be brighter than what has gone before. This is what you all must change. You actually have the power to make it so that we can look our kids in the eyes and say, we love you, we value you, and your country's going to invest in you and your future. Now, what does that investment really look like? If you're here tonight, at some point you've heard that someone is running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. Maybe you even saw it in a TV ad. Raise your hand if you saw a TV ad. That makes me very happy because we spent a lot of money on those ads. No one had their hand up. I have to knock some heads. Now, I know the first time you saw this $1,000 a month proposal, you thought that's too good to be true, that's a gimmick, that will never happen. I understand. But this is not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for this at the founding of the country, called it the Citizens Dividend for all Americans. Martin Luther King, whose son I met with in Atlanta, was fighting for this in the 1960s. It is what he was fighting for when he was killed in 1968. It's called the Guaranteed Minimum Income for all Americans. 1,000 economists, including Milton Friedman, one of the fathers of modern economics, endorsed this plan in the 60s. It passed the House twice under Nixon in the 70s. And then in the 80s, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? And how does Alaska pay for it? And what is the oil of the 21st century? Data, technology, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that study? How many of you got your data check in the mail this month? If our data is now worth billions of dollars a year, where is all that money going? Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple, and the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying zero or next to zero back into our society. See what the game is? When we talk about rewriting the rules, we have to recapture the value that is getting sucked out of our communities and put it back into our hands. If we get our tiny fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, eventually every robot truck mile and AI work unit, we can easily afford $1,000 a month for every American. Particularly because after you get this money, where is it going to go? How are you going to spend it in real life? How much of it's going to stay right here in Iowa? Most of it. Not all of it. You might get your own Netflix password instead of just passing the same one around all the time. But most of it would go to car repairs you've been putting off, and daycare expenses, and Little League signups, and local nonprofits, and religious organizations, maybe even Democratic Party dues if there's another dance thing. This is the trickle-up economy, from our people, our families, and our communities up. This would give our kids a real path forward. This would also make it so our kids don't feel like they have to leave the town or the state in order to access better opportunities. This is what you can all make real just like that in 16 days. We're getting all these messages about how great things are all the time. Record high corporate profits, record high GDP. But if your corporate profits are going up and your life expectancy is going down, which do you listen to? We know which one DC is listening to. They can't even see people and life expectancy. They just see the dollar signs. One of my key proposals is I believe we should have term limits for the people that we send to Washington. If you go to Washington, your job should be to do work on our behalf and then come home. Your job should not be to crouch as long as possible and try and absorb more of all the goodies that DC bestows upon you. As your president, I will do your work for 8 years, and then I will leave the next day, and you will never hear from me again. So we're getting all these messages about how great things are, record high corporate profits, also at record highs in the United States right now. Stress, financial insecurity, student loan debt, mental illness and depression, drug overdoses and substance abuse, record lows, business formation among young people, marriage, having a kid. The fundamental acts of optimism that fuel a healthy society are now at record lows. But of course, corporate profits are doing great. You see the divide? What we have to do is actually unify the way we're measuring economic progress and our own well-being. Instead of saying somehow that these corporate profits are a proxy for how we're doing, we should actually measure how we're doing. As your president, I will say, look, GDP, 100 years old. Even the inventor said this is a terrible measurement for national well-being and we should never use it as that. And here we are riding it off a cliff 100 years later. Robot trucks will be very, very good for GDP and corporate profits. They're going to be very, very bad for a lot of Americans. So instead of using these as our measuring stick, we should be measuring health and life expectancy, income and affordability, childhood success rates, clean air and clean water, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, the proportion of Americans who can retire in quality circumstances. These will be the measurements of the economy under my presidency, and I will present them to you each year at the State of the Union. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck and show the real numbers. And if you had the real numbers, you would see we're in the midst of a mental health crisis, we're in the midst of a wellness crisis, we're in the midst of a civic engagement depression. All of the things that you'd want to see in a healthy society are heading downward. And I know how messed up the economic numbers are because of my own family. My wife is at home with our 2 boys every day, one of whom is autistic. How much is her work valued at in our economic measurements every day or every year? That gets a 0. And it's not just Evelyn and stay-at-home parents around the country. It's caregivers who are taking care of ailing loved ones. They get a 0 too. Volunteers and activists trying to make things better, 0. Coaches and mentors trying to help the next generation, 0. The vast majority of our artists, it's called 98% of artists, 0. Increasingly local journalism, 0. We put almost 2,000 local newspapers out of business over the last number of months because all of their advertising revenue went up to the cloud. You know what doesn't work as well if you don't have local news? Democracy. Because how the heck are you going to vote on what's going on in your town if there's no one actually covering what's going on in your town? These are the things that we in America claim to value most highly. Our families, our communities, our democracy, and we're allowing them to get zeroed out one by one by one. This is what you all must reverse in 16 days. We have to say to our fellow Americans that economic value and human value are not the same things, and that we and our children all have intrinsic value as Americans, as citizens, and as human beings ourselves. That's the message, independence. That's what we have to make clear as quickly as possible to turn this tide. Imagine if we miss this opportunity, what happens over the next 4 years? More of the stores' lights go out, artificial intelligence gets stronger and smarter, the robot trucks start hitting the highways. We have to take this opportunity right now to turn the tide. We have to solve the actual problems that got Donald Trump elected. And I think Democrats are making a grievous error by acting as if Donald Trump is the source of all of our problems. He's obviously not. The problems existed before Donald Trump came along, and that's what we have to focus on actually addressing in our communities. Donald Trump said he was going to make America great again. It was a very simple and powerful message. What did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. You remember that? I know it's been a long 3 years, independence, but it's about to end. That response did not go over very well because for millions of Americans, they thought, wait, the problems are real. We need to acknowledge our problems and their depth and severity, but then we need real solutions that would actually move our country forward. What were Donald Trump's solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock back, bring the oil jobs back. Independence, you know we have to do the opposite. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of the 21st century. We have to evolve in the way we see ourselves and our work and our value and provide a brighter future for our kids. I am the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Now some of you don't know this, but math is an acronym, and what does it stand for? Make America think harder. That's right, independence. That is your job in 16 days. It is your job to move this entire country, not left, not right, but forward. And I know that is just where you're going to lead us in a couple of short weeks. Thank you all so much. Looking forward to taking some questions. Conrad, go ahead. I have kids myself, so I appreciate it. They have to do something. Call me. Hello.
Hi there. I'm a union employee, and my family has benefited from very good health care. A lot of candidates are talking Medicare for all. Is your solution opt-in or Medicare for those who want it? Or what will happen to people like me who have very good health benefits and want to keep their private health benefits?
Thanks for the question. How many of you are in union? A guy named Chris Larson who works at the UAW gave me a documentary, a CD for documentary, DVD. It was called Brothers on the Line. I don't know if you've seen this documentary. It's about the formation of the UAW. I watched it with my wife, and it was so edifying because you saw just how hard people had to fight for workers' rights when the unions were forming. Where Walter Reuther literally got shot in the face and lost an eye, his brother got shot in his own home, and they just kept on going. They kept on fighting, and they turned unions into this pillar of the American middle class that helped transform millions of workers' lives for the better. Now, what has happened since then? Union membership has slipped and slipped and slipped. The way I see unions is as like a fortress against the storm. But what's happened is that the fortress has been under attack for years, and the storm has gotten stronger. So one of the main things that unions has done for workers is negotiated for better healthcare plans and healthcare benefits. And the last thing I or any candidate, in my opinion, should want to do is do anything that would touch those plans, because you literally gave away wages for those plans in negotiations years ago. My plan for healthcare is this. We have to go to the American people and say, hey, we're going to try and get healthcare off your backs. We need universal healthcare in this country. We're going to have a government plan that everyone can access. But of course, we're not going to force you to do it. If you're on a plan that you like, stay there. If you don't have coverage, then you can give this government plan a shot. And if someone else also wants to give it a shot, please do, because we're going to try and make it as compelling and competitive as possible, and over time even make it better than the private offerings that are out there. But that's the way we have to make the case to the American people, is by demonstrating that value and out-competing. So in your case, you would have your coverage exactly as is, and maybe over time we could convince you that you might want to give this other plan a try, but you probably never would, because the union plan has been working for you and your family, and that's as it should be. It would be incredibly disruptive to go to millions of Americans and say, hey, these plans that you've used and these providers and all these arrangements that you've made that work for your family, we're going to change them. We're going to legislate them away. We're going to change the situation for millions of Americans. I think that is the wrong way to go. That is certainly not the way I would lead. I want to do more for Americans in the healthcare and not take things away. That said, what's going on in our healthcare system is a real problem, because we're spending twice as much as other countries to worse results. And why? What is our healthcare system designed to do right now? make the drug companies, the device companies, the insurance companies lots and lots of money. Not really designed to make us stronger and healthier. We have to try and help change those incentives over time for the providers. Because if more of those resources were actually going to ways to make us and our families stronger and healthier, we'd just be much, much better off. I'm a numbers guy. We're spending $3.6 trillion a year on our healthcare. About $1 trillion of it is waste. But when I say waste, it's waste that's benefiting the drug companies, the device companies, and the private insurance companies. Imagine if there was an extra $1 trillion going into our hands to make our lives better. That's the equivalent of something like several $1,000s a year per person. Imagine if your government just said, hey, here's a couple $1,000s, but the only condition is you have to do something that's good for you. Well, wouldn't that be the greatest thing in the world? That's the level of waste we have in our system. That we could legitimately just be going to you and being like, get whatever the heck you'd want that would make your life better and easier and stronger and healthier. I mean, that's where we have to try and steer. I'm going to tell a story from my own family. My father-in-law had a stroke a number of years ago. And then they said to him, hey, you're going to be on blood thinners the rest of your life, and here are these drugs. And he heard that, and he said, you know what, I'd really like to try and modify my diet and my lifestyle. So he went and said, can I see a dietitian? And then the insurance company said, no, we will not pay for a dietitian, but we will pay for these drugs that will cost thousands and thousands of dollars like for the rest of your life. And he said, wait a minute, I'm trying to save you money. I'm trying to see the dietitian and do something that's problematic, it'll be easier on my body. Eventually he just paid for the dietitian himself out of pocket. But think about how messed up a system that is. That insurance company should be like scrambling, saying, please go to the dietitian, because if you do this, it'll save society a ton of money. But instead they denied the dietitian and said, we're gonna ask you to take drugs the rest of your life. That's our system in a nutshell. I wanna pay the dietitian, you know what I mean? I think the patient wants you to pay the dietitian too. Conrad, go ahead and pass it around. Yeah.
Wow, it's sensitive, Mike. I was a Trump voter in 2016, and I remember at the time there was, this question's about gun control. A lot of people in this area, they are hunters and sportsmen, and sometimes they just enjoy their firearms for hunting, and I suppose there would be some that would say just for home protection, things like that. There's been fears in the past and a lot of discussion about how Democrats are going to take our guns. Democrats are going to outlaw all of our guns and come and take them, and I think we've even heard our president say that very recently. We need to balance. I'm wondering how we are going to balance that desire to be free and the desire for the Second Amendment versus, we see the violence in the schools and things like that. So how do we balance that interest as far as from a presidential standpoint?
Oh, thank you for the question. I think we need to have really honest conversations about what gun violence is and means in this country. Almost 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides. And so the person that's most affected is the gun owner, him or herself. And one thing I know as a human being, if we all had self-destruct buttons on our bodies, we would have hit them at some point in a moment of shame or weakness or guilt. But then the moment passes and you're just like, oh, well, glad I don't have a self-destruct button. But for some gun owners, they make a choice that's irrevocable and tears their family apart that they would have rethought literally moments later. So when I talk about gun control or gun safety, I'm trying to get people to be in a point where the worst effects of gun violence aren't as common, while recognizing that it is frankly completely unrealistic to imagine that you're going to somehow take people's guns away from them in a real way. So I'm for a perpetual buyback of firearms in this country that's entirely voluntary. And then if you get tired of a gun, you can trade it in and we'll give you money to do that. I'm for upgrades to firearms that will make it so that the gun is personalized to you through a palm print or something if you want. And this might make your gun safer because then if your kid gets a hold of it, then they can't do anything with it. But all of these things in my mind are voluntary. And a discussion where you say that to a law-abiding gun owner who's using it as a sportsman or hunter, like that's going to be the case for generations, in my view. So we need to focus on the common ground that Americans, I believe, get behind, which does include certain gun safety regulations that most of us agree on, like universal background checks and red flag laws. But that has nothing to do with the ownership rights of an American who's just using a gun, like in a law-abiding way for sport or otherwise. I would invest massive resources in a mental health infrastructure. Go back to the original point around the fact that suicides overtaking vehicle deaths in this country to me is a giant crisis. And the trends are getting worse, not better. And so if you have literally a suicide epidemic in your country, which we do have, then you need to try and invest resources to make that better. And again, that's almost 2/3 of gun deaths. So I would want to have that conversation in America saying, if you want to focus on gun violence, we need to try and make our families stronger. And also have a conversation around the fact that the problems are affecting boys and men to higher degrees. And when you talk about shooters, you're talking about boys and men 95, 98% of the time. I have 2 young boys myself, one of whom is autistic. And I know that if you have the wrong boy in the wrong school, that's very, very bad, generally for the boy, but sometimes for people in the community. And so what does that mean? We have to try and get resources into the family's hands. We have to try and get resources into the school so that if you have kids, boys in particular, who have different learning profiles, that they don't feel like they're getting punished or marginalized every day in school, but that the school actually has resources to say, this is not an assembly line, your kid is different, we're gonna have someone work with that kid at their own pace. And we actually have the resource to do that because it's not a student to teacher ratio of 30-1. Because the federal government will pay for having special needs educators in your schools. Now, people don't think of that as a gun violence question, but to me, it's all connected. All these problems are connected. If you want to try and impact gun violence, you would start at the family, and then go to the school, and then go to the mental health infrastructure, then you go to the nonprofits and economy in our towns, and then you would go to gun control, like in terms of actual gun safety regulations. It's all a giant chain, and you have to try and attack every link at the chain to improve circumstances rather than saying guns, guns, guns. I mean, I think there's common ground on gun safety regs that respect people's Second Amendment rights.
That's one thing I love about your platform, Andrew, is that everything seems to combine and layer on top of one another, whether it's healthcare, the $1,000 dividend, everything.
Well, thank
seems
you, brother.
to be woven in. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm just a parent who wants to try and humanize our economy and way of life for us and our kids. I see it's heading the wrong direction. We have to do better. I've seen the future that lies ahead for your kids and mine. It is not something I am willing to accept. You should not accept it either. And unlike everyone else in the country, you actually have the power to change it. Only people in the country who can say, you know what, we genuinely need to do something different that actually invests in our people and our kids. We have to stop acting like we all work for the machine. The machines work for us. Our economy works for us. We're the richest, most advanced country in the history of the world, $21 trillion a year and counting. We bailed out the Wall Street banks for $4 trillion. You remember voting for that? Oh, we laugh. None of us would have voted for that. Or how about this one? America, would you rather bail out the Wall Street banks for $4 trillion, or would you rather keep Americans in their homes? Which would you have chosen? keep people in their homes, please. Like, no. Let's choose the banks. That's what they did 12 years ago. I was so disgusted, I quit my job, started a nonprofit, and ran it for 7 years to try and wash off the stink. And I had nothing to do with it. I was just in the same town. Really. Like, it was just so corrupt. And if we had gotten that right, in my mind, we'd be in so much better shape as a country today, but people saw what happened, saw that no one went to jail, no one took accountability, everyone just walked home with their giant bags of money, acted like, no, who could have known? And here we are. Here we are where if you're an individual parent or family and you run into hard times, your fault on your own. If you're a drug company, you get into hard times, like, we can't run to you with bags of money fast enough. Bank, same thing. Like, that's the way our country has become. Our government has been overrun by that. You know, I mean, you all see it. That's one reason I was excited to talk to you all, because this is, like, you all are the swingiest of the swing counties in the swingiest state in the country. You know, like, Iowa is straight up and down purple. And to me, if you're a Democrat, you have to look up and say, how the heck do you lose the swingiest, purplest state by almost 10 points? You must really be doing something wrong. I haven't heard Democrats say that. It's driving me nuts. You know, it's like they act like Donald Trump's like out of the blue. It's like, well, if you guys were like actually leading in a more genuine way, then like people would feel like government's on your side instead of on the side of the freaking corporate interests, all just there like passing money back and forth. Anyway, just to give you a sense of where I am. but I'm genuinely just like another citizen who sees the problems, and they are all very much like linked to each other. Yeah.
I just have a, whoa,
Yeah,
that is sensitive. I just have a minor question. My kid works in the ag industry, and he told his friends that he works with that you were coming to town. They're like, well, that guy's really cool, but he's against meat. And I have no idea where that's coming from, and I was hoping you could just clarify that so he can go back to work and say, no, you should check this guy out.
Oh, well, thank you for the question. I think I had a burger today. I quite loved it.
Yes.
So the only place I can think of where that would come from is I believe that we need to put a price on pollution in order to help move us towards a more sustainable economy away from climate change. And so to a question someone asked, it's like, hey, if you have like an ag business that produces a lot of emissions, and I say, yeah, you should have fee on carbon, but it's literally measured in the ton, and it would like change prices on something like, you know, like this much initially to help us transition towards renewable source of energy, and it doesn't single out like meat or ag in the least. Like most of what it's thinking of is frankly the giant smokestacks that are emitting like tons of stuff in like the industries. Like it's pretty much thinking about the fossil fuel companies and the rest of it. And then someone said, hey, could you apply that to ag? It's like, yeah, but like the level of emissions like we're talking about are like much higher from all these things over here. So I like meat. I eat it every day. I plan on continuing to do so. You know, like I do have team members who are vegetarian and vegan. And what I think to myself is like, good for you, I could never do it. And I'm probably like many Americans in that respect. I'll stop there. So you can tell I like meat a great deal, and I expect to eat it for a very, very long time. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Last question. Wow, this Andrew guy doesn't like meat today. I have to change that. Is there a picture of me anyway?
All right, you've expressed several things that you'd like to do as president, but to do a lot of those, we're going to have to get legislation through Congress and the Senate. So what's your plan to make sure that Iowa will elect a Democratic senator to replace one of our Republicans, and we keep control of the Congress, and we also get control of the Senate? Because if we don't do that, I'm afraid we're not going to go anyplace.
Thank you for the question. I love it, and I couldn't agree more. That you need to fight for races down ballot, especially Senate seats. Those are crucially important. So I want you all to play out with me how this picture looks. You all start voting 16 days from now. Shock the world, Andrew Yang wins Iowa. Those headlines rocket around the country and the entire world February 4th. People will be like, what just happened? Like Andrew Yang wins Iowa. And then we go to New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, win. I'm your president a year from now. Now, Democrats and progressives will be so thrilled to have beaten Donald Trump that they'll be super excited to try and get money into the hands of families around the country to make our kids stronger and healthier. But then Republicans and conservatives will look up and say, wait a minute, how do I feel about cash in people's hands? And Alaska, the state that's passed a dividend for decades now, that was passed by a Republican governor in a deep red state. They'll be like, conservatives, and I sense there's some of you in this room that resemble this, conservatives don't hate money in people's hands. What they hate is a giant bureaucracy that makes everyone's decisions for them. And cash in people's hands is obviously the former. So we can get this dividend passed and put it into people's hands. To your question about how we have Democrats succeed around the country, I think one of the gaps in the Obama administration was investing in down ballot races, making sure that you actually had strength in different places. I think that this message that we have to humanize the economy would be very, very effective here in Iowa and would help Democrats at every level. I genuinely see Iowa as ground zero for many of these economic changes. And understanding the economic changes is crucial. Most of this state is rural. When you talk to Democrats, what is your plan to revitalize rural areas? There is very, very little that they're bringing to the table. The main thing they will bring to the table is to say everyone needs broadband access, which I 100% agree with. We should get 99.9% of Americans broadband access. I can get that done within my first term. But realistically, if you have high-speed broadband, that does not create jobs in your communities. That means that you can watch videos faster, like send things back and forth, but it's not a job creator. So when I spoke to the state legislators here in Iowa and I presented the plan for the Freedom Dividend, a number of them came up to me and said, this is the only thing I have seen that would actually work to revitalize rural parts of this state. So if you take this message to folks here in Iowa, then all of a sudden I believe Democrats can succeed statewide much, much more effectively. Because this is a solution that people can understand and touch and feel and would actually improve our way of life. This is, to me, what the Democratic Party has been missing. Because the Democratic Party is proposing solutions that people don't really believe in. Where if you say, hey, we're going to improve this system, we're going to improve this program, we're going to improve this, a lot of Americans are like, you know what? I'm not sure that government program is really going to touch my life in this way. But if Democrats start standing for it, we want to put money into your family's hands to make you stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, that's a winning message. If we get that message here in Iowa, then I believe Democrats can compete better here, and they can compete all throughout the states that Trump won, and then we can start moving our country in the right direction. So hopefully you can see this as a bipartisan vision, because this is very non-ideological, it's very solutions-oriented, and Republicans don't mind me because they sense that I am non-ideological. There was one survey that said that 18% of college Republicans would vote for me over Trump. Another survey said that 10% of Trump voters in New Hampshire would vote for me over Trump. And I'm the only candidate in the Democratic field that Trump has never tweeted about. And think about that for a second. Like, he knows who I am. I know he knows who I am because his advisor literally said, if there's one candidate we're worried about, it's Yang. Just today, odds came up on the internet gambling market that said that I am a heavy favorite to beat Trump in the general if I'm the nominee. You know the people that have not woken up to this yet? I don't know, some people in the media, some other folks. But I'll tell you, if we win Iowa, then the entire thing wakes up and it's like, oh my gosh. Because what's the number one criteria that Democrats have for the nominee? Beat Trump. By the numbers, I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump. I'm getting 10 to 20% of his supporters. He doesn't want to touch me. He knows I'm better at the internet than he is. And what are his most effective attacks? You're a creature of Washington. You're you're corrupt. You're like like none of that stuff works on me. You know, I'm like the anonymous Asian guy who just came out of nowhere and just said, hey, let's give people money and get on with the business of solving problems. That's a tough foil for him. As more people wake up to this, you're going to see us rise and rise. But it does come back to what you were describing, which is trying to get the country together to get things done in Washington, D.C. That is the vision. That's the mission. All right, thank you all so much. I'd love to meet you individually, take some pictures if you'd like, but let's move this country forward. 16 days. Bring the session with Mike. Thank you all.
If you'd like a selfie or a picture with Andrew, we'll ask you to line up right here, looping around the back. Thanks everyone for coming.
Okay, stream. The current donation leaders are Michael at $1,000 and Alex at $420. If you would like a shout out on camera from the next president of the United States, all you gotta do is All you gotta do is donate right now through the yanggame.com donation link, and you will get a shout out on camera from Andrew. $420 or more. Or if you are not able to donate that much, you can still help support the campaign and show our value and why that they should continue to allow us filming at all of their events. Just donate right now. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Every single dollar will help. And of course, if you do $420 or more, you will get a shout out from the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang. Let me go around this way.
Yeah. When did they graduate?
Yeah, I'm gonna interview someone, don't worry. Donate, guys. If you donate more than $420, you can join Alex and Michael as the donation leaders, and you will get a shout out on camera from Andrew Yang. And I have someone who, and if you are unable to donate, you can still help the campaign by going to yang2020.com/call and yang2020.com/text.
Okay, good.
No, because I'm about to try to interview. I'm about to try to do an interview, guys. Darth Clyde, can you just keep spamming the donation link in the chat, to the point where we annoy all of our viewers? Yes, I'm gonna do an interview. I have someone I want to interview as soon as I can.
And so I'm going back, but I had to register by last night if I wanted to cross the zone and everything. That's fairly close to where. Yeah. This should be a new experience.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question. You mind if I ask you a few questions on camera?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So, you were a Donald Trump voter in 2016. How did you first learn about Andrew?
I believe it was the first Democratic, the first debate. I sat down with my boys to watch the debate, just to see what was out there. And Andrew was the one guy on the stage that caught my eye, and we talked about $1,000 per month, and I laughed and thought that's silly.
Yeah.
And thought maybe I need to look him up. I need to just do my own digging in on this topic to see how that happens.
And what would $1,000 a month mean to you personally?
Well, for me personally, I have kids in college. I can assist them going to college. I drive a mail car. It would help me keep that up a little bit better, or maybe even buy a new one to deliver mail in. You know, it's these little things that regular people struggle with every day. It just would give them that little boost they need to make them feel just a little bit better every day waking up. I think that's important.
And right now, how do you feel about Donald Trump? Or do you still support him, or is it kind of like neutral, or maybe turned a little?
The more I've listened to Andrew, the more Donald Trump seems less and less appealing. Not only from the, you know, we have this whole impeachment thing going on, and we have things overseas going on, but it also doesn't feel like he's being honest with anybody right now. And you see somebody like Andrew, and he's like the face of honesty, right?
Yeah,
right here with all of us. So that means something. It still does.
Yeah, I'm like a right-leaning independent myself, and the more and more I hear Andrew talk, like the more sour I get on Trump as well. So I can kind of resonate with that a bit. You mentioned impeachment. How much do you and your friends and family and your local community like actually pay attention to the hearings that are going on in Washington? Is it something that matters a lot in your day-to-day lives, or is it more of just like a distraction from the actual issues?
From the people that I am typically associated with, mostly probably independent or Republican leaning, or full-on Republicans, the narrative that this is a hoax and that is resonating with a lot of them. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's the feedback that I'm hearing. So President Trump has some messaging that he's pounding over and over and over again that is being reflected in his followers. They're saying it right back. You know, they're parroting it right back to me. So how much does it mean? It means a lot to me. It doesn't mean so much to a lot of people.
Yeah. Besides Andrew, is there any other Democratic candidate that you would consider in the 2020 election?
Well, you know, Andrew's my strong first choice. Bernie Sanders is coming in there on the second choice. Just ideology. I'm not certain that Bernie can win over Trump just based on what I know about Trump voters. I see things in Andrew that I think could draw a lot more from the right over to win for Andrew. But you know, I do like some of his ideas. I do like some of Bernie's humanistic, and they all have their hearts in the right places. I think that's important.
What is your name?
Tracy.
Tracy. Well,
yes, sir.
Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming out.
You bet. No problem.
Make America think harder.
That's right.
Thank you. I think we're all good.
Guys, I was asking the question on purpose. There's a point to it. Because the whole idea of trying to convince people that Andrew Yang is the best candidate to beat Donald Trump is to ask people who are considering Andrew, is there anyone else that you are considering? And if they say no, it's just more and more proof that Andrew Yang is the only candidate that can defeat Donald Trump. Let's go interview some more folks. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you here.
Oh, yeah, hey! Nice to see you, too.
Yep.
How's it going?
Good.
So far, so good?
Yep,
Yes,
absolutely. Yep.
I don't blame you.
Do you want to answer a few questions?
I really like to stay incognito because some of the stuff that I do for my volunteer work, I'm better off if I stay apolitical. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I appreciate you coming out here and listening
well,
to Andrew speak.
I learned a lot, and I like what I heard.
You like what you heard?
Well, I'm an engineer. I deal with data. He's actually talking about data.
Yep. Yep.
Using it to solve problems.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it really is true, like, how much the value of data is now versus...
Yeah, and that's so easy to overlook because it's given away so freely.
Correct. Well, people are giving it away and they don't know it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just people I talk to, so you understand why you get a Google email account free, don't you?
Yeah.
And they go, no, because you're given free data.
Yeah. I mean, so I was like, I'm a right-leaning independent myself, and I've only ever donated to Andrew's campaign, and then I sent like a small donation to Tulsi. And I'm wondering, like, how's the DNC have my email? They just spam me. It's crazy. And he talks about how we need to own our personal data and have like personal property rights over our data.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, in fact, he makes decisions based on information, not just what is politically expedient.
Yeah, he's just a down-to-earth, solutions-oriented guy. But appreciate you guys coming out to hear the message, and stay warm out there.
He is a great guy.
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you be interested in answering a few questions?
He's a good guy. Thank you. I'm gonna get you one.
Yeah, if you'd like. Only if you'd like.
Just tell us what before the event was he your first, second, third choice, and after I see your last, first. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm even older. I was a high school student.
All right. While I have a break here, let's check our donations. No, I'm not. But, well, it's a live stream. But if you don't want to be on camera, just let me know, and I'll make sure you're not something. Okay, thank you, Robert, for the $50 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Tim, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Jay, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Matthew, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, David, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang. So, you interested, or? It's no obligation. I'm not with the campaign or anything. I just go around filming Andrew's events and trying to see how people feel about him. It's actually on YouTube. Yeah, we're called the Zach and Matt Show. Yeah. But it's totally up to you.
There you go.
See you guys.
Picture time. Okay, where was I? Thank you, Jay, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Matthew, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, David, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Ty, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Jim, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you so much, Michael, for the $1,000 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Chui, I don't think I said that right, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Brian, for the $200 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Joey, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Sal, for the Sal Shun, I think I said that right, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Karen, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Lee, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Christopher, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, David, for the $50 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Judy, thank you so much, Judy, I love you, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Min G, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Henry, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Kevin, making it happen with just the $1 donation. But those are the people-powered dollars that fuel this campaign. We are a community of small dollar donors. Thank you, Amanda, for the $7 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Sally, for the $300 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Tom, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Kevin, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Chris, for the $2 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Kyle, for the $1 donation, Andrew Yang. And that is all of our donations up to date. Oh wait, a new one just came in. Thank you, Darla, for the $5 donation, Andrew Yang. If you guys would like to get a shout out from Andrew Yang, you can donate to him using the yanggame.com donation link. The current donation leaders for a shout out on camera are Alex at $420 and Michael at $1,000, which means all you got to do is donate $420 or more and you will get a shout out on camera from the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang. So what are you thinking? A few questions, or if not, don't worry about it. I don't want to stress you out or anything.
Well, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to meet him, not just read about him.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little better idea of his personality and what he stands for. His way of
I'll get that.
Well, he has had a good background. My
Concern was what?
negative side. Yes, he has a lot of ideas as far as his concerns for not enough emphasis on everything.
Works for you though, right?
Also, I know about his family life. I know the young woman who drives for him.
Wow.
And my concern with him is that he does not have enough on our positions in the world. Biden knows these people. He's working on them.
Yep, absolutely.
And he has a confidence.
Or Dubuque, or two of them. Yep.
He's experienced.
He's experienced, exactly.
Well, one thing I could say about Andrew's climate plan, just because I followed him very closely and I know a lot about it, is really mention it tonight, but he has a plan for a completely green economy by 2049. And part of the way that he would actually fund the $1,000 a month would be through a carbon tax on companies that pollute, and it would start out at $40 per ton. Because right now, like, companies, they only really care about their bottom line. So unless you affect their bottom line, they're not going to care whether they're polluting or not. But if you put a tax on them, then it starts affecting their bottom line, and it would go up every single year. Because if the $40 isn't enough and they still aren't listening, you got to ratchet it up. And then the experience thing is definitely a concern because he's never held any office before. But I think what Andrew says is he would try to pick a vice president who has connections in Capitol Hill and has a lot of experience, and really just try to fill out his cabinet with a lot of experience, smart, intelligent people. Hopefully a lot of the other people in the race that people like and support if he makes it that far.
My biggest concern, I went over to hear Warren, he's here in Manchester a couple of weeks ago. There is a Korean sitting there with a mom.
Yep.
They have no conscience.
Yep.
They'll use it if they think it's going to face them. They don't care what happens.
That is just one of those things that no, I can understand if you're going to choose
We've got to figure out some way to
Yeah, the North Korean threat is very big concern. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Anybody that's
Yep. In that scenario, you totally want someone in office who has experience. Yep.
Right.
Send your child on a trip got shot.
Oh, it's awful. It's horrific.
My daughter Japan, the Peace Corps was there. She was at her mercy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think Andrew, he knows that most Americans don't want war, and he would do everything he could, along with the people who are already there, the established military leaders and officials who are really the experts on this thing, to try to just bring down tensions and try to go for a diplomatic solution as much as possible. But what was your name? Mary. It's a pleasure talking to you. I gotta ask Andrew a question real quick.
What's your name?
Matthew. I'm from Maryland. Yep, absolutely. But I really enjoy covering this campaign, getting to speak with people like yourself. Yeah.
And I probably told you, and I told other people, my dad brought rural electrification to the county.
That's great.
And that's my stars, that are positive and that are
Absolutely. Helping the people, that's got to always be the number one focus. Doing what's best for Americans, and if you do what's best for Americans, hopefully you'll do what's best for the rest of the world.
You've got my number, don't you, Buzz?
All right.
Probably not.
I gotta bother Andrew real quick.
I probably have your email now.
Pleasure talking to you, Mary. Thank you. I am. It's been awesome so far. Take care. Where'd Andrew go? Okay, shout out time. As soon as this press interview is done. Let me check real quick and see if anyone else has donated. Thank you, Vo, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Benjamin, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Tal, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Fong, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Russell, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. I'm sorry that you guys couldn't hear that well. Basically, she really likes Andrew. Her concerns were that his lack of experience, especially with all the conflict like in Iran and North Korea that's happening around the world, and also was concerned about what we're going to do for climate change. So I tried to address those, and she was telling me about her own personal experiences, like with people she knows, like who've served in Japan and the Peace Corps there, and you're just at the mercy of another country, and it's very, very important. I don't want to capture the audio on their exclusive interview. I know you guys want me to, but
We're watching.
right now 997.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
We out here.
Yep.
Sick.
Yep. Absolutely. Peak. The stream went. Unfortunately, the stream cut out for like 5 minutes because the signal on this phone just went. But we're still able to get up to like 1.7
Nice.
So
Nice.
people really liked it, that it was kind of a different type of crowd
Yeah,
than
definitely.
usual. And I thought it was interesting too.
Cool. Well, that's really exciting.
Yep.
Have I introduced myself? Yes, you have.
Yeah,
Video.
Matthew. I heard. Did you used to work for Kamala Harris' campaign? Okay, yeah, that's what I heard that they were sending a new videographer, or photographer out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited. Cool.
Is it okay if I ask you a question on live stream?
Sure. Although we are about to leave
Yeah.
as soon as he's done.
Yeah, I gotta bother him for 10 seconds. That's what I'm waiting for. What drew you to Andrew from after Kamala Harris's campaign?
Yeah, I mean, a huge part of it was raising voices of color. I think that it's important in everything that you say. And then beyond that, I think he's unfortunately now the only candidate that will be on that stage for the rest of the next this year. The candidate of color, and I think that that's important as well as he is kind of talking about things that, as you can tell from this crowd, crosses just what everybody else is talking about, and I think that that's important. So I'm here to support him in however way I can and try to get him elected. And I believe his values, his message. It's exciting to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, us Yang Gang, we really appreciate having you on the campaign.
I'm super excited.
So. Do you have like a Twitter or anything?
I do.
You want to shout it out on camera, or keep it secret?
I mean, sure. It's
How do you spell that?
YESSICA.
YESSICA. So if you guys would like to follow the new videographer on the Yang campaign,
That's me.
Go.
I post a lot about my old boss. I post a lot about my current boss. All love.
yep, and show your support and tell her thank you for being out here in Iowa in the freezing cold covering Andrew's campaign.
All right. You bet.
Andrew, could I get a shout out for Michael and Ryan? They each donated. One of them donated 1,000, another 420.
Holy cow. Hey, Michael and Ryan, thank you so much for your incredible support, particularly whichever of you donated 1,000.
Michael.
It seems like it's Michael. I'm kidding, Ryan, you're great too. But thank you guys, you're here with us, front and center to making history. We're in Independence, Iowa. What a great name for a town. And Michael and Ryan, you guys are here fighting alongside us in Iowa. Thank you. You're making this bus tour possible. You're making getting our message out to people here in Iowa possible. I'm so pumped to be here. We've got 16 more days here on the trail in Iowa, and then it's off to New Hampshire, and then Nevada, and then South Carolina, and then Super Tuesday, who knows? Who knows where we're gonna go? But wherever we go, you'll be with us. So Michael and Ryan, thank you. Thank you for believing in us. We're gonna win.
All right,
let's do it.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew. Okay.
So there you go. We're gonna win, guys. You just heard it from the man himself. So keep donating through the yanggame.com donation link, and let's make this happen. And if you don't believe that the donations do go to Andrew Yang, because there are a small percentage of people who do believe that, do you really think he would give a shout out on camera for the donation? Unless it actually was going to him? Interesting. Very interesting. What's my battery on this? Alright guys, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you tomorrow. Let me check real quick what the first time of the town hall is tomorrow. One more interview? Maybe, if I can find someone to interview. Let me check what the first time of the first event is tomorrow. The first event tomorrow is at 12:15 Central Time, so that's where we'll be. At 12:15. And then he has another event at 3 p.m. Central Time, and then he has another event at 7 p.m. Central Time. And the 3 p.m. Central Time event looks interesting because it's a forum on immigration in at the Des Moines Area Community College. That should be an interesting event. What do you think, Julian? Does that sound like an interesting event? Everything's interesting. That's the right answer. Alright, I'll keep the stream running for a sec. Let me get my stuff. And I'll see if we can get one more interview with someone. Let me flip this around. Better view. Did I give the wrong name to Andrew, by the way? Was it actually supposed to be... Shoot, I think I messed up. Oh my gosh, I said Michael and Ryan. It was actually Alex. Alex. Sorry, phone users. Alex, I'm so sorry. I'm going to get you the shout out tomorrow, Alex. Don't worry about it. And if there's a random Ryan out there that exists, just let me know. Thank you, Lydia, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation. And there he goes. How's it going? Good, you?
Good.
What's your name again?
Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin.
First time I met you was Iowa City. You probably don't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad with names,
yeah.
so.
And also, you've met so many people.
Yeah, you're on the advanced team.
On the field advance.
Field advance, awesome.
That's why I see you a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, I always see the same faces, like Julian, Conrad, you. Not sure what the blonde lady's name is. Nancy. Yeah, appreciate everything you guys do.
You have a bag.
On your way.
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
Have a good night, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, stream. This is the end.
Just gotta make sure that
Let me see if. Let me see if Alex is still in chat.
this will charge
Yeah, Ryan, you have to donate $420. Okay, yeah, Alex, don't worry about it. I see you in chat. You have my email. I will get you the donation tomorrow. I mean, not the donation, the shout out tomorrow. Don't even sweat it, bro.
Well, we have to get our stuff done. That's how long.
Did you need these tubes?
I got your name wrong because it's been a long day. I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it, bro. Yeah, okay, we're cool. We're cool, Alex. We're cool. We're on the same page. I got you tomorrow. Just shoot me another email to remind me. Or DM me on Twitter. Alright, this is the end of the stream. No, I don't want any curve. Good night. Wait, let's get a picture of the bus. Yang? Gang. Goodbye, Yang Bus. Goodbye.
See, Matt.
Hey, Conrad. All right, this is officially the end. I'm actually ending it. If you would like to follow along as I drive to, where's the first event tomorrow? I already forgot. Waterloo. If you would like to watch me drive to Waterloo, come on over on Twitch. We'll either be on the Yang Stream Twitch or the Zach and Matt Show Twitch. Good night, YouTube. And Alex, good night. I got you tomorrow, buddy. Don't even sweat it.